So let's dive right into this explainer. Look, we all know that incredibly frustrating feeling of staring at a screen, literally arguing with an AI to get exactly what we want. It's exhausting, right? Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to transform you from a frustrated casual AI user into a strategic prompt engineer. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. The prompting skill gap, 2. Context, task, and format, 3. Triggering chain of thought, 4. Rules for structural clarity, 5. The format restriction paradox, and finally, number 6. Day 1 or 1 day.
All right, let's kick things off with section 1, the prompting skill gap.
To really master this, we need a complete paradigm shift. When you get a bad AI output, it's almost never a tool failure. It's a communication gap. You've got to start treating the AI like a ridiculously smart but completely unbriefed new employee on their very first day. Think about it. They're intelligent, they're eager, but they know absolutely nothing about your company, your customers, or your specific context until you explicitly tell them. You wouldn't hand a brand new hire a 2-word task and expect a masterpiece, would you? Of course not. This comparison brilliantly hits the nail on the head. A super vague prompt like, summarize this report, might save you 15 seconds of typing up front, sure, but it's going to cost you 15 minutes of pulling your hair out and rewriting later because the AI was basically just guessing. On the flip side, an engineered prompt that gives explicit background, audience details, and constraints, that gets the job done perfectly on the very first try. Moving right along to section 2, context, task, and format. Now that we actually know how to treat the AI, let's establish the ground rules. This context, task, and format framework is your bread and butter. Honestly, it covers pretty much every single business prompt you're ever going to need to write. You give the background, you state the one specific action you want done, and then you lay out the exact shape of the output. It's that simple. Let's zoom in on that context step for a second. Good context has 3 key ingredients: what's already happened, who the audience is, and this is crucial, what persona the AI should adopt. Seriously, telling it to act as an experienced sales manager or act as a cautious paralegal, those are the absolute highest leverage words you can put in your prompt. It instantly shapes the entire tone and vocabulary. It's like flipping a switch. An amazing way to see this framework in action is the ELI 5, or explain like I'm 5 technique. If you're wrestling with a really complex topic, ask the AI to strip away all the jargon and use familiar analogies. Tell it to explain it using Legos or a game of basketball. It forces the AI to use physical intuition for abstract concepts. It's basically the famous Feynman technique for learning, but automated for you. Okay, jumping into section 3, triggering chain of thought. Let's look at the actual academic science of how these models reason. When you're dealing with something super complex, standard prompting just demands a direct answer. But chain of thought prompting, that asks the model to generate a sequence of natural language reasoning steps first. Get this. Forcing the AI to literally think through the problem, step by step, in hidden block before giving the final answer can actually kill off about 80% of hallucinations. 80%? No way, right? The visual proof here from the University of Toronto is just mind-blowing. With standard prompting, the model completely bombs a basic math problem about counting tennis balls. It just fails. But when we use chain of thought decomposition, it breaks the complex problem into manageable chunks and walks straight to the correct answer. It's like showing your work in grade school math class. It just works. Which brings us to section 4, rules for structural clarity. Since we know the science of how they reason, let's talk tactical execution. Here are your top 3 rules for structural clarity. First, use delimiters. Throw in some hash marks or quotes to clearly separate your instructions from your background data. Second, use positive framing. Tell the model, use a 3-sentence paragraph instead of saying don't be wordy. And third, remember system role precedence. The system instructions outrank your user instructions. If you cram the user block full of rules, but the system block contradicts them, you're going to create these silent output-ruining conflicts behind the scenes. The whole philosophy behind these rules is actually really simple. Shrink the decision surface. Every single time you use a delimiter or frame a command positively, you are taking away the AI's need to make a guess. And less guessing means massively fewer errors. All right, on to section 5, the format restriction paradox. So just when you think you've built the ultimate mega prompt, there's a massive plot twist. It's about something called structured generation.
This is the practice of forcing a language model to output its answer in a super strict, standardized format like JSON or XML. Developers absolutely love this because it makes the data really easy to parse. But researchers recently stumbled onto a shocking paradox. The results of enforcing these strict formats are frankly staggering. In a recent study, forcing the model into strict JSON format degraded its reasoning abilities so badly that it completely failed a simple math problem about overtime earnings. And here's the kicker. It was the exact same math problem it had just solved perfectly in plain text. So here is the paradox we're dealing with today. Mega prompts and strict JSON constraints can actually hinder the newer reasoning models. These newer models already have amazing internal reasoning baked right in. When you overload them with, say, 1,500 tokens of heavy boilerplate formatting rules, their attention gets completely divided. The signal-to-noise ratio drops and their performance tanks. Sometimes you really just need to let the model speak freely. Finally, Section 6, Day 1 or 1 day. We've covered the practical frameworks and the deep cognitive psychology behind all of this. But listen to me. None of this matters at all if you don't actually put it into practice. Look, it's so easy to see the experts online and feel like you're miles behind. Stop comparing your AI workflow to everyone else's. Their Chapter 20 is not your Chapter 2. The only person you actually need to beat is who you were yesterday. Drop the excuses and just focus on getting one small win, one slightly better engineered prompt every single day. I know a lot of us keep saying to ourselves, oh, one day I'll learn prompt engineering. One day I'll really sit down and figure this whole AI thing out. But let's be real. One day isn't a plan. It's just a convenient excuse for a professional skill gap. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one very simple question. Which is it going to be for you? One day or day one? Take these frameworks we just talked about, start experimenting with the AI tools you have access to right this minute, and push your career to the next level. What's stopping you from writing your first perfect prompt today?